This is a sacrament. And no, I ain't lost my mind. We are drinking to new life. Tish gonna have Fonny's baby.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Film Bros Podcast. My name is Isaiah Lucas, and I am joined by my co-hosts,
Abraham
and Nick.
How y'all doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, we're doing really good, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about the movie that we picked out. I know it's something that we all have not seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have not.
So it'd be interesting to get your guys' perspective. I feel like we haven't done a movie we all haven't seen in a minute.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, I chose the movie If Beale Street Could Talk. It was written and directed by Barry Jenkins, and it's adapted from a book actually written by, excuse me, gosh dang it,
it's
written by James Baldwin.
Yeah, James
Yeah.
Baldwin.
And it came out in 2018. And I said last podcast that it wasn't streaming anywhere, but it is on Hulu.
We were
So-
mistaken.
We were
Yeah.
mistaken, so that's my fault.
We'll print a retraction. We were wrong.
But I chose this movie because I loved the score,
True.
Mhm.
and that's the only thing I knew about this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it was a little viral on TikTok, wasn't it?
the score
The-
was the
The
sound,
song.
The
that
Agape.
song Agape,
Yeah.
and that's how I found it because I'm always on TikTok, and I was like, dude, I showed Isaiah and Alexa, and I was like, dude, this song is so good,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
like I loved it,
Yeah.
and then like it's on my daily rotation, like legit, and then Isaiah had brought it up. He was like, dude, you love this score, let's watch this movie, and I was
Mhm.
like, actually, yeah, like I want to do this movie because we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, and a big part of it too was Valentine's Day came up and
Mm-hmm.
we wanted
Yeah.
to get into our love feeling and kind of see some of that on screen. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
we can talk about how effective that was, or this movie was. But I do love the soundtrack. I think that was one of the things that really like pulled me in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because it's all instrumental. I don't think there's any song on that soundtrack with no words or with words.
Yeah, I'm not too
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think so. I think most of the jazz that does play is more instrumental
Mhm.
Yeah.
than, vocal.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we can get into this if you want to.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah.
All right. What's this movie about? What are we dealing with here?
Yeah, so this movie is about two African American sweethearts, Tish and Fonny, who basically are like ripped apart by this racist cop who is wrongly accused for the assault of a Puerto Rican woman.
Mm.
And basically now the whole movie is trying to seek justice for Fonny and proving his innocence.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they're dealing with in their Harlem community, and we just get to see how rough it is for them being in that community.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that pretty much hits it on the head. So if you haven't seen this movie, definitely go check it out. It is streaming on Hulu, like we said. And we will be talking about some spoilers here. I didn't think this movie would have pretty big spoilers in it.
I think it does.
But yeah, I think it does too. I mean, I have a ton of bro moments in this. So
Yeah, I have a lot.
there were definitely a lot of moments in here where I was just kind of like, oh wow, like I didn't think that this would happen or this would get brought up.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be interesting to talk about a little later whenever we get to that category. But
All right.
yeah, definitely check this out. If you don't care about spoilers, continue listening. If you do, pause it, come back, go check out the movie, and hear what we have to say about If Beale Street Could Talk.
Yeah.
Abe, why don't you go ahead and start us off with your first favorite scene?
Yeah, so my first is actually the opening. We get introduced to this like statement from a book, I believe, actually.
Yeah, it's from James Baldwin.
Mm-hmm.
From James Baldwin, and I don't know what quite it is, but from there it just shows this couple who we come to find out it's Fonny and Tish, and
Mhm.
the music behind it, the colors, it's so beautiful.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I think it's a perfect way to open this scene. We get to see this couple who are just in love and just enjoying their presence together.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah, want to echo Abe as well. Like I love that overhead shot of them walking
It
down
kind
the
of like
stairs.
circles them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful shot, and I mean we get that accompanied with this great coloring, and Fonnie and Tish's like sort of matching outfits. It's coordinated, right?
Yeah,
like he's wearing like a blue like denim jacket with this yellow button up, and then she's wearing a yellow overcoat with this like blue and white yellow dress, and like they look beautiful.
Yes.
And that accompanied with this beautiful score, just something really beautiful to look at. And from immediately off the rip, we don't know anything about them. We can just assume they're together because they're holding hands.
Yeah.
And I think like the first dialogue, like the first like couple of words that get spoken within this film are between the two, and it says like, "Are you sure you're ready for this?"
Because I've never been more ready in my entire life, or something like that.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, immediately when I heard that, I was like, okay, like this is going to be a great love story.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear what this is going to be about.
Mm-hmm.
And it really got me hyped for what was to come. And I think it was a very effective intro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's why it's definitely in my list.
I definitely agree with you, man.
All right. I don't know if you guys have any up until this point, but my next one is the monologue of Tish talking about when she fell in love with Fonnie.
Yeah, this would be my next one as well.
I think that's before mine, because mine is when they call the family. Fonnie's
no.
family.
I think yours might be before actually.
Okay. So, my next favorite scene is actually, so this is a little spoiler, we get to find out that Tish is actually pregnant with Fonnie's child. But at this point we find out that Fonnie is actually incarcerated, and he is in jail.
Yeah, she tells him behind glass.
Behind glass, and that was one of the biggest real moments, and that's like 2 minutes in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is so, I can't imagine what he thinks and what she thinks, to even tell your significant other, hey, I'm having your child, but you aren't even gonna be there for it.
Yeah.
And that's not the part that's my favorite scene. It's, so Tish tells her family like, hey, like I'm having a kid, and it's Fonnie's, and
I'm thinking about the subtlety in her acting there, where she sits down, and the mom is a little worried. She comes in, she puts her groceries down or whatever, and she goes, hey, how's everything going? She goes, it's good. And she's kind of like subdued in this corner, right? And
she's like standoffish.
Yeah, she's so standoffish. And then her mom is doing the dishes or whatever, and she goes, Mama, and the mom turns around and she's like,
I know something's up.
She knew right away, and I just thought that was so effective in how they showed that dynamic.
It's the mother's instinct. I mean, she raised her, so she knows her.
Yeah.
So the mother is called Sharon, and so Sharon actually they're pouring some drinks after dinner. This is after the part you were just talking about, and the dad, I don't really know his name. I don't think they really say
His name is Joseph. That's what he's. That's his name in the movie. But it's Coleman Domingo, and he's incredible actor.
Yeah, I love him. I didn't know he was in this, and I know him from Euphoria.
Yeah.
So when I saw him, I was like, Ali, yo, what's he doing in this? Yeah.
So then Joseph, he goes, oh, what's the occasion, and this and this and that, and Sharon
immediately they
Sharon
know too.
goes, just pour. You're the man of the house. Pour the glasses, and then it gets to the last cup and says, "Not too much for Tish."
Yeah,
and he
looks.
He's
like, he's all.
He looks at her and he was like, "What?" And she gets up, gets her cup and sits down at the couch.
Yeah.
And Sharon goes, This is to new life. A toast, and then so they drink, and then Sharon goes, or I think does Tish say it or Sharon?
Tish, I think, breaks the news.
Tish goes,
and Joseph is a little shocked at first.
Yeah, which she's 19 years old.
Yeah,
I mean,
which is reasonable. I mean, it's a big thing especially to break to your family.
Yeah,
it's gotta be terrifying. I mean, we can tell that it is terrifying when Tish is like getting the courage to say that in front of everybody.
100%.
But I think Joseph handles it so beautifully.
I think he handled it amazingly.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like immediately when I was watching this, I was like, "That's how you should handle that situation." Like immediately with love and with support.
Yeah,
and I understand how hard a situation like that can be, especially coming from a religious household. It's it's something that that's like the forbidden thing.
Yeah,
right. But I don't think it necessarily always has to get handled the way that we end up seeing Fonny's parents or Fonny's mom handling it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really enjoyed the way that Joseph
even
handled
Joseph
the situation.
and Sharon, when they're talking about it at that time, she's like, he doesn't mean it in a bad way. He's saying it because he cares about you, and he loves you. Like, because he comes to the question and asks, "Do you want this child?"
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "Of course. Like, I want it. Bonnie wants it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna have this kid."
Mm-hmm.
And that's when
Yeah.
Sharon goes, "Well, he's not saying it in a bad way. He's saying this because you are a little young,
Yeah.
and we love you, and we just want to make sure we want the best for you."
Yeah.
Which is, again, like you said, has to be that should only be the way you come at this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love how they immediately switch gears after, and she says like, "I think it's gonna be a boy."
He goes,
Yeah.
"Oh, I hope it's a boy."
Yeah, and I love their like immediate excitement
Yeah.
about it, right? Like,
And even her sister, she goes, "Oh, my baby sister's gonna be a mom." And
yeah,
but my favorite part of this scene is when they're like, "We got to get Fonny's parents here and his family
Mm-hmm.
to get there," and they're like, "Yes, like it's early Saturday night. We'll have a couple drinks and talk about it." And I actually loved it because to me, it's like the joining of two families. Like that's what's gonna bring them together.
Mm-hmm.
And I love them seeing that. Like, heck yeah, like this is awesome. Like we're gonna be one big happy family. Like
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
two coming as one. And I was
Mhm.
like, heck yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my next favorite scene.
It was extremely effective for me to see a family so unified together in a
Mhm.
situation pretty difficult. I mean, she's
Yeah.
19, he's 22, he's incarcerated for a crime he did not commit.
Yeah.
And, of course, the family is completely supportive of her, and it was a joy to see, to get the levels of emotion. The father going, like, being super confused, and then finally getting to that hump of, like, I realize what's going on. And
I'm
then
gonna be a grandpa.
yeah, and then him kind of going in and falling into that supportive role, I thought was pretty fantastic. And the whole, I mean, I know it's a little bit later, but you expect the family to do the same. Fonny's
Yeah.
family to be
yeah.
to equally be supportive, but the minute that they get there, the tone shifts.
Yeah,
completely.
it's one parent is excited and the other is flabbergasted. Could not believe that.
That's not even like a word you can. I don't even know how to describe her. Like her
disgusted.
reaction. Yeah,
It's
disgusted. would be a
completely
good word.
unwarranted, though. It's like I could not imagine saying those words to your. She would be
Daughter-in-law.
your daughter-in-law, right?
Yeah, well, and future grandchild.
Exactly. Like, I honestly can't see it. And I fall into the mom when she's saying, like, this is your grandchild. It doesn't matter how it got here.
Yeah,
It's your grandchild.
yeah,
And I fall into that of like not being in disbelief that she could believe that about this kid.
yeah.
But I wanted to talk a lot about your favorite scene. I think that's after his, right?
Yeah, I would say it's after mine.
That monologue.
Yeah, so we get that whole, I believe that whole argument and situation with the other side of, Fonny's parents and their side of the family and how they react to Tish's pregnancy.
Yeah.
And then we get put into a flashback.
Oh,
of-
okay. So it's after that.
I believe so.
Okay.
If my memory serves
I think
me
so.
correct.
Yes.
But we get put into a flashback with Fonny and Tish, and Tish kind of has this whole monologue she's narrating over this flashback, and she starts talking about how she knows the exact moment whenever she fell in love with Fonny, and it starts with Fonny bringing this sculpture that he'd created out of wood, because he's a craftsman and he works with wood, and he made a sculpture for Tish's mom. He gives it to her, and she said, "At that moment, I knew that I was in love with Fonny." And we get this whole beautiful writing.
Mhm.
Like when I was listening to the way that she was talking about falling in love with Fonny, not because of like immediate attraction, but growing up with one another,
Yeah.
and wholly knowing everything about that one person because you have spent your entire lives together, as friends and not romantically, was something that was so beautiful
Mhm.
to hear
Mhm.
on screen. And that whole sequence of events really started to that accompanied with this beautiful music,
Mhm.
started to really bring tears to my eyes, dude, because I was like, dude, this is so wholesome, and it's gorgeous. I
Yeah.
love listening to and watching this story unfold. And I really love that scene between them in the subway car when I think Fonny's standing in the middle of that subway
between the
car.
pole, right?
Yeah, they kind of both are.
Yeah, and they're just staring at one another, and we get these close-up shots where it feels like we are the other character, and they're just staring into each other's souls. And you can tell that there is just this chemistry between the two. There's this connection, something deeper than love.
Yeah.
It's it's the title track that plays at that moment is titled Agape. It's something that is deeper than surface love. It is the purest form of love. And I don't know, I really enjoyed that sequence, and I think that that's something that would really warrant going back to just to rewatch that whole sequence again.
I can only imagine just witnessing that in theaters.
Yeah,
for the first time in a big screen. I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah. I really, really enjoyed this scene. It was one of the scenes where I when I saw them staring at each other, and it's something I think Barry Jenkins does quite often with this film, especially, is when the time kind of slows down and we get this really still shot of them looking at each other, and I think it's really effective at having such an intimate moment with each other, but letting the audience in on that and letting them see this kind of privacy and this tension between the two build in such a small little scene. I think was really effective, and that's the time where the music is swelling up, and I'm getting like, I'm actually starting to get teary eyed because you can genuinely see there's a lot more to this friendship. You know what I mean? Because that's how they kind of started.
Yeah.
And I love too that it's so efficient at explaining their life together, and you just get to see them as little kids, and she explains like, oh, I never thought of his body like that, and you see them in the bathtub just playing with bubbles, right?
They're in the bathtub together.
Yeah.
Messing around with each other as little kids.
Just friends, just like you never even think about that, but as it comes on, and I think that's something that happens quite often in life, right? It's you've spent so much time with this person, you know them so intimately, like as a friend. It only makes sense, that's the next step if you both are feeling the same way, is to have something deeper than love, right? Or love in the most pure, genuine form, right?
Yeah.
And I think he captures that so well, and just this small little scene.
Yeah.
I loved it a lot.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed that entire scene.
Yeah.
But you guys got any favorite scenes after that?
My next one is not until deep in the movie,
Okay.
and that's when they're looking at their loft.
Yeah, that's my next one as well.
Mine, I can't. Does it happen whenever he finds his friend or his friend comes along?
That's before.
That's before.
With Daniel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
before.
Let's talk about Daniel a little bit.
I love Daniel.
I really enjoyed Daniel's character.
I do. I love him.
I don't know. I found myself in a hard spot because I can't quite remember, but I think Tish at some point in the narration had mentioned that like what Daniel got put in prison for.
Daniel mentions
Daniel talks about it,
or they had talked about. She was talking about in the narration how like the night that they were together was the night that it's a Veronica, right? The one who was assaulted.
the Puerto Rican lady.
Yeah.
Yes.
She there was the night that she would accuse Fonny of SA.
Yes.
And so I don't know, like for some reason I think I got that mixed up in my head, and I was thinking like, oh, Daniel is not a good guy for some reason.
Oh.
And but
yeah,
I don't know. I think
Daniel was their alibi, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
and I got confused at that point. But the longer the scenes with Daniel went on, I was like, dude, this guy does not seem like a bad guy at all. Like he seems like a very genuine guy, and he's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
I ended up loving his character. I was like, dude, this guy feels like he's great. And when he even starts to go into why he got into prison, and how he was falsely accused of stealing a vehicle, and he's like, I can't even drive.
I don't even know how.
And that was what hit me. I was like, oh, man.
It blows my mind that he took that charge over the
pot charge.
The pot charge.
Well,
which
he said it sounded better. I feel like marijuana would give him more time, I guess.
Yeah, and he explains that, between a Grand Theft Auto charge and a pot charge,
which blows my mind because I feel like...
Well, especially in today's climate.
Yeah. Well, not even just that. I mean, I
Yeah.
get it. It was illegal, but I feel like stealing a car is someone's personal thing,
Yeah.
and something that you're just using for yourself is something totally different, and it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something too that, you know, back in the 70s, I mean, we're talking about living in a country that was very racist.
Yes.
Mhm.
And like, I mean, the country I still believe is some like racist. Like they're to an extent. Like we've obviously gotten a lot better. We've shown progress, but there still are
Tons
issues.
of things to do.
And back then, I mean, and we see it with Fonny's character. I mean, they're locking people up for anything and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, when like we get further down into the movie, whenever Fonny is protecting Tish from this guy who is coming up on her, and you know, she's telling him like, "Hey, I don't want to be, you know,
He's saying
I
like
don't wanna be talking
little
to you.
tomatoes or
Yeah.
something ridiculous. Like
he's trying to hit on her, and she's not liking it, and she's saying, you know, I don't want to hear this.
Mhm.
Get away from me, please. And Fonny sees that, pulls him aside, and gets physical with him.
trashes it.
Yeah, he
dude.
throws him in the garbage, and a cop sees that and is like, "I'm gonna arrest you for assault and battery." And it's like,
You don't even know the whole
you don't-
story.
Yeah, you don't even understand the gravity of the situation.
Yeah,
it takes that the shop owner, who's, you know, a real one for sure.
She is,
She
dude.
comes out and she's like, "I seen this whole thing. It's not what you're trying to make it out to be. These
Yeah.
people are good people. They live here. They shop here almost every day, and you know that guy was in here attacking her, and you know you have no right to throw these charges on this man. He did nothing wrong."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that scene warmed my heart because
Mhm.
I was like, dude, finally, like someone standing up for what is right and showing the cop like that's not what's happening here,
Mhm.
and I know what you're trying to do, you know.
It was a very wholesome moment. We haven't explained it yet, but this movie isn't linear,
No.
as in we're getting flashbacks left and right, and we're kind of
the
going back and forth between, you know, seeing their past or their
seeing their past, but then also
Seeing the present.
seeing the present, and then you know the past flashbacks that we do see don't always necessarily
like they're
Line
not
up.
line
with
up
the
linear,
present.
Yeah.
line up in a linear fashion.
yeah, they're kind of like cuts into important parts of their life, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I really like Daniel as a character, is because, you know, he not only serves as a, you know, a view into the injustice of the criminal system back at that time, but you know, he gets really deep and intimate with his time in prison. You know, he says he spent 2 years there, and he kind of, you know, breaks down in a very subtle way. He does, but it's one of the reasons why I like it is because, you know, we get this real sense of like dread, and we get to kind of like looking into his experience. We can kind of, you know, connect that back to Fonny in prison. You know,
We can just imagine what he's going through.
yeah, and you know, he has to, every time he's with Tish, you know, he's not telling her all this stuff, but
Yeah.
you know, it's through Daniel we get to see some of that conflict in him like that, which is why I appreciate it so much. And you know, they're all drinking and smoking, and they're getting really deep with each other, and he explains all this stuff. And then one of my favorite scenes is after that, you know, Tish finally gets done making dinner, they're all eating together, they're all happy, and it was, I don't know, it just felt nice. And to see unity like that
Yeah.
is very, it like warms my heart.
Yeah,
And-
same. Whenever Tish comes back and he's like, "Oh man, she finally brought back some groceries. Did she bring back any smokes?"
Yeah.
Or anything? And like, you know, they just immediately all have this banter with
Yeah.
one another. It was something that was, I don't know. It felt true.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like that was really what was happening, or it didn't feel scripted.
Yeah.
Like the entire time I was watching these people genuinely react.
Yeah, they were
And-
laughing.
and you know, genuinely having a moment with one another, and there was just a camera that happened to film that moment.
And I think at the time when Daniel's looking at this, I think it's unfinished sculpture that Fonny has.
yeah.
He looks at it and he goes, I think it could be something eventually.
Yeah,
Like he's just dogging on him, but he's like dogging on him, but good.
Yeah.
And it's Fonny's like, yeah, you're right. Maybe sometime it'll be something good.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about it. And like you said, it's just like they're in the moment. It's real, and it just happened to be a camera there.
Yeah.
And it's here where we get another layer of conflict with Fonny and Tish trying to get their own place and not being able to, and he kind of is able to explain his situation and how, you know, she goes by herself and she doesn't get anything. I go by myself. I don't get anything. We go together. We definitely don't get anything. And it's heartbreaking, but I think it's...
He even brings up the situation where, like, Tish almost got something.
Yeah.
And then they saw him.
Yeah, and then whenever...
They both go.
Yeah, whenever Fonnie went, the landlord saw Fonnie and immediately came up with this bullcrap excuse of, like, oh, my family's coming from Romania.
Yeah.
And they need the room or the house in, like, 15 minutes. So, sorry, I can't give it to you. It's, like, come on.
Yeah.
Are you serious? I mean, at that point, I don't know. I don't want to speak for Fonnie or anything, but I would rather have someone just be
straight honest
up front and be like, hey, just tell me you're not going to give me the place because you're racist.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me that. Tell me that you would rather a person of color not rent from you because you don't like people of color, rather than making up this bullcrap excuse and trying to sugarcoat it and having someone see right through that. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I feel like that's so much more insulting.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I love it too because they kind of give you a little bit of heartbreak here, but I think it's one of our favorite scenes is whenever they finally get to see them making progress on their place.
Yes.
Which I think we'll talk about later. I don't know. Do you have any other scenes that you?
No, that
next?
one, the one that you're starting to talk about is mine, and I believe Isaiah's.
Yeah.
I love it too.
Because
he has such a vision.
Exactly, and that's how I wrote it. And I put it as moving the fridge is what I called it. And they're in this warehouse or this factory.
Yeah, it's a loft above a factory that
and
the guy owns. Levy?
Yeah, Levy.
Which is also a bro moment because it's Dave Franco.
Dave. Yeah, when I heard his voice, I was like, Dave Franco, what is he doing?
You see his little mustache?
Yeah.
But you see Tish, who's like, how are we gonna live in this place? There's no walls. There's nothing here for me. And Fonnie is just like, why? I can just picture this. Like, we'll have our bed all the way over here, our couch right here, and this. And he goes, and he gets Levy.
Yeah, I think it's Levy.
And he goes, hey, help me with this. Hold the door. Help me move this imaginary fridge. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh. And she like you even said earlier, was like, she plays into it now. She finally sees the vision. And I just think it's so nice to have a vision of the future. And that's what made me love it, because I'm like, he's thinking 20 years ahead.
Yeah.
When she's obviously thinking of now, but it's still nice to think of ahead. Mm-hmm. And I loved it because of that.
Yeah, I really love Fonnie's forward thinking, like you were saying, and I really enjoy his vision, like you were saying, Nick. Like I love that this man can see what he wants.
It's so
and he is just like no, imagine this, like I can see a table right here, right in the middle, and and our bed all the way back here, and some walls over here. And I think at that point Tish is like, where are my family gonna sit? And she says, we're going to put a couch right here for all your family to sit. And she's like, well, what about my fridge? And that's when they do the whole, lifting of the fridge. And when he starts to do it, he's like, hey, can I get some help out here? I need to lift this fridge, make sure you lift from the bottom and all this stuff. And it's so wholesome that he is like, we can turn this into a home. Regardless of the situation, we are together. And we are going to make whatever we can into a home for us.
Yeah,
it just felt so wholesome.
Yeah.
Yes,
and very, very heartwarming.
It's definitely a nice scene because we're getting scenes of him going flashbacks, or not even flashbacks, of them currently seeing him in prison, and she's going there. So it's definitely nice to see that they had visions and had plans before he got wrongly accused.
Yeah. I love afterward, whenever they're talking to Levy about, renting the place and all that stuff, how he immediately mentions, like, hey, deposit, you put the deposit down, the place is yours.
He goes, all right. And
that, that immediately, gives Fonnie and Tish so much hope, because they've been rejected over and over and over and over again, and for someone to finally give them the chance, it's just, it feels earned,
It's like some weight off our shoulders,
even
as a watcher.
Yeah, it feels like a triumph.
Yeah.
For the viewer, because you've seen these characters go through this battle of just trying to find something as essential and simple as housing. And getting the chance to finally have that, they shake hands, they do the deal, and it goes to this beautiful scene afterwards where they're walking around their new neighborhood.
They can't even contain it.
That's my next favorite scene.
They cannot contain their excitement, exactly, and they just start screaming. They start shouting with, laughter and excitement, and they hug one another, and they share this beautiful exchange of emotion. And it was another moment where, nothing really had to be said, but that music is swelling and you can just feel all of these emotions as a viewer. And it really started to make me tear up again, because I was just like, dude, it's so beautiful to watch these people be so excited about, building a future together and building a home for one another.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
I almost want to think that they decided to shoot this in a non-linear fashion just so they can undercut some of that emotion with the reality of him behind the plexiglass and them not even being able to embrace each other.
Yeah,
it's almost like a hopeful. You see that hopefulness, but in when the reality of
when you recognize the severity of their current situation, it's a downer.
Yeah, you obviously know that they're not going to get it. She hardly has enough to afford for herself, and now she has a baby on the way.
Yeah,
like. It's crazy, the duality there.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I kind of I think the way that they do cut, the flashbacks in and the way it's it's not told linearly, however you say that word, is done on purpose that way. I could see that.
Yeah,
that does make sense, but.
Yeah, and it's kind of because they do a lot of shots where he's behind the glass, and they do even more shots of her really fighting for him with that lawyer, and there's incredible amounts of hope, but then there's also the dread that looms over like a situation like that, especially with, I think it's one of my next favorite scenes is the last time they kind of talk on the phone together, and she sits down, she's about to pop, right?
Yeah.
And it's the scene where he's like, you can tell he's beat up.
Yeah, he has
blood in his eye.
Yeah.
He's got like a busted lip. He's messed up. And she even says like, man, you got to eat, put some meat on those bones. Like, he's roughing it.
Yeah.
And
I think he says something too to the effect like, man, you're as big as 2 houses.
Yeah. Oh, he even says
because he's like, is it twins? Is it triplets? Yeah.
And he's like, man, you're even as big as you are, I still think you're the prettiest woman in this room.
Yeah.
She was like, good, because if you didn't think that, then I'd be out here. I'd be gone.
There'd be a problem.
Yeah. And it was cool to see them, still have this love for each other. But I don't know, it's this time where he kind of gets this sobriety a little bit, where I feel like he understands his situation, and he's talking about he's saying something like, it's gonna be all right. I gotta hold my baby. Like I gotta hold him in my hands. And for some reason, it kind of felt like a goodbye a little bit, because it was one of the only scenes where,
I get what you're saying.
Instead of them running out of time and the guard coming in and taking him away, he
just hangs
up the phone, gets up, and I love this scene too, because, and we haven't really talked about it much, but it's something that really works for me, is that, especially in scenes like this, the camera, it's almost like they're looking directly into the camera.
Yeah.
And it's very, it's very framed of just them.
Yeah. It feels intimate.
It feels super intimate, but it's in this moment where he gets up and walks away, and he blurs out.
Yeah.
Blurs out of focus, and it was really powerful. I don't know, and it really felt like a goodbye. I don't know how you guys felt about that scene.
I get what you're saying now realizing, because he does hang up, and they don't say goodbye. And he's just like, I need to, like, I gotta do this, like.
It's I don't know, it seemed a little different than the other times we'd seen it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys thought about that.
Because I do get what you're saying.
I don't know, that he intentionally, like, goes out of focus and leaves her, all right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he just couldn't, like, bear to know that he's not going to be there for the birth. Because I think that's the scene, too, where, she has, like, either a contraction or the baby kicks or something, and he goes, she asks him if he's okay, and he goes, am I okay? What about you just got kicked in the stomach?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just felt very sad. Very, very, very sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think after that there, goes into the sequence of her having certain contractions at like work and other places, and then she has that baby in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's natural, but
yeah.
You think it's crazy?
I think it is. I mean, we've become so accustomed to having children in
the
hospitals
hospital.
and having things like epidurals and
Yeah.
I
help.
think it's something.
But
that,
But I dude, props.
Yeah, props.
Honestly,
No,
because
props
that-
to women in general who
yeah.
have kids.
yeah, I could never. And, I mean,
Imagine you having a kid.
pushing a child out of a hole that's like that big,
I
like that's
can't
no,
imagine that.
No, I can't imagine that at all.
No.
But she endures and has this baby in this bathtub and immediately feels this connection with it, starts crying and just like, "Hi, little Fonny."
Yeah,
and
it's
I
so
love
cute.
it what she does because she's holding him, and
She's
so
like,
at that point it's a boy. And I
Mhm.
actually I smiled so hard when I found out it was a boy. I was like, dude, heck yeah! Like the dad's gonna be so happy.
Mhm.
And but like got my heart was like, she's like, I got you. Like you're with me. Like I'm gonna take care of you. And I feel like yeah we say that when I'm not a parent, but obviously like I feel like I'm gonna say, oh, I'm gonna take care of you. Like you're my kid. But I
Mhm.
think once that kid is there, everything changes.
Oh yeah.
And her like mom instinct kicked in, and she's like oh, I don't know. I don't know. Is it weird that I think that was super cute? I don't know.
I think it's something that's innate in us as humans.
Yeah, and
Because I was just like, oh man, like I can imagine. I can only imagine holding a newborn.
Mhm.
Well,
and recognizing that that's your child.
Exactly.
I don't want to I might be reading too deep into it, but it's almost like she's holding a part of Lonnie. Like
No,
she-
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not only her child, which is true, but it's like she's like, I got you.
This
Like,
is our offspring.
yeah, like
This is a piece of Fonny and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it just felt like it was her way of showing intimacy, but he's not there. You know,
Mhm.
No, and I get you on that. So yeah, it makes sense.
just it was beautiful. I really
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Is that it for favorite scenes?
I think so. That's it for me.
The only thing I had was the ending
Okay.
when
I
When they're
I-
in the
when-
visiting center.
yeah they're the visiting center.
I
and-
kind of the one thing that I was wanted to bring up was actually we see Fonny Jr. That's because they name him Fonny
Yeah.
as well, and he's writing something, and I wanted to know what he wrote because
don't
we
know.
don't see what he wrote because Fonny, the dad, was like, "Oh, let me see what you're writing," and then Tish goes, "Oh, ever since I told him, that's all he's been writing."
I think it's
Oh.
something like come home or something.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. She'd said like that he was going to come home sometime soon or something like that, and she'd said that ever since she told Fonny Jr. that's all he's been writing
Mhm.
is about when his dad's going to come home.
That makes sense. I guess I didn't hear that part, but I don't know. Like I wanted to see what he was writing is what I was coming at.
Yeah, I enjoyed that last scene though.
Yeah, it's
was-
something that's like, it's unfortunate and it's sobering because that is the reality of the situation. There's no real happy ending for
Yeah.
our characters in this because that is what happens,
Mm-hmm.
and it sucks, right? I mean, it's something, an innocent person went to prison for something that they didn't do, and they have to do time for something that they didn't do. And they have, waste years of their lives, years that they will never get back. And it sucks. I mean, it's again, it's something that is unfortunately prevalent in, what it was prevalent in the 70s and it still is now.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a sobering ending.
I really
And, I can understand enjoying it though, and understand, it bringing that reality to the picture.
Yeah.
Mm.
So
I thought it was wholesome when Fonny Sr. is about to open up a snack, and Fonny Jr. goes, "Don't forget to say grace."
Yeah.
And he says grace, and I thought that was really cute of him to do that.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's cute too when he's doing it. He's all, "Father God, please help my daddy while he's inside." Like, and he's like doing all this stuff, and it is very
super
wholesome.
wholesome and cute.
Yeah. All right, if that's it for favorite scenes, let's get into our best quotes.
I only have 2.
Okay, I've only got one, and it's from Tish's mom, Sharon.
I feel like it's the one that we all have.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's when she is having a one-on-one conversation with Tish, and she says, "I don't want to sound foolish, but remember, love is what brought you here. And if you've trusted love this far, don't panic now. Trust it all the way."
Mm-hmm. I got that one.
Yeah, as soon as I heard that
I said
that spoken, I was like, oh, that's a quote right there.
Yeah.
And like I immediately started writing it down.
Yeah.
It was great.
The one that I got, I hate that I wrote it down because it's from a bro moment and it made me laugh, is right when Fonny's dad smacks her mom.
This is my favorite
His
quote
mom.
too.
That blew my mind.
It blew my mind. It's a big bro moment.
I didn't
But-
think that was about to happen.
No, me
neither.
either. But we probably don't have the same quote because my quote is, I can't. One of the daughters says, "I can't believe he would do that to my mom. Like her head is hurt." And Tish's mom Sharon says, "Well, she got a weak head." And I hate to say that I laughed at that, but I was laughing, and I think I laughed because she was dogging on Tish for gonna have that kid and like this and this
She
and
was
that.
saying some.
So Sharon saying that to her was like, I was like, good, like she deserves that. Like not that she deserved to get hit, but she deserved to get talked like that back.
Yeah.
And that's why I wrote it down because it made me laugh, and I was like, it was earned.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite quotes was from the Fonny's father. His name is Frank. I love him.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his character
yeah.
as well.
I loved him. I loved the dynamic too of you can see the tension in their relationship because she's this like God-fearing woman, and to the extent that she is just like almost toxic to these kids, right?
Mhm.
And he of course does not follow that same, and he's of course happy for the baby, and it's when she starts to say some vile things to Tish, and he gets up and he whacks her, which blew my mind. I did not expect that to happen, but it's right after he says that he goes, "I think you'll find it still pumping, but I wouldn't call it no heart."
Yeah.
And I kind of felt that same way too. Not like I felt like that mom had literally no heart, no empathy, no sympathy for Tish at all, under the guise of being a religious woman. But
Yeah.
there's no love, there's no
empathy.
there's no gentleness there.
Mhm.
It's completely against what she claims to believe, right?
Yeah.
And I like that he had said that.
Yeah.
I think it's really true in that moment.
Yeah.
That's all I got
Okay.
for best quotes.
Yeah, same here.
Yep, me too.
All right, let's get into bro moments then. I do have quite a bit of these.
I have some too, yes.
Obviously, I mean, we just talked about the mom being upset about Tish and Fonny having a baby. I want to talk about the bro moment about when we find out why Fonny's in jail. And it gives us that whole sequence with the photographs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed those sequences with like the black and white photography showing like the current surroundings of what 70s New York was like, and then seeing Fonny in the back of the cop car and all that stuff. It was just such a huge bro moment for me whenever Tish starts explaining that Fonny was like literally like almost a marathon away from the crime.
Yeah.
And he was targeted by a racist cop, and the cop, because of a previous altercation with him that was racially motivated, went to his area of town, caught him, used his word against his, and said, "Oh, he was running from me. He was running from the scene of the crime, even though he wasn't even in the same area," and pinned all this stuff on him. And then coming to find out that whenever brought up in a lineup, the Veronica was forced to choose Fonny.
Yeah. And that was one of my biggest ones. And I had written down literally just like this. I said, bro, why is the law so dirty?
Yeah.
And because we get told that, Veronica was told to do this. And we even get told that she's escaped. She's nowhere to be found.
Mm.
And that they just picked up Daniel by the DEA, just picked him up and arrested him.
Yeah.
And that's their alibi.
Yeah.
And now they have nothing to go with when the law has all this power now over them.
It was also a huge bro moment, or at least my thought that I wrote down here. I just found it so sickening that a family that has what we assume is little,
Mm-hmm.
right? We assume that the family doesn't have much, right? Not Fonny. Tish ends up picking up that job at the department store for perfume. I mean, her father Joseph even turns to like stealing stuff and flipping it for profit with.
Well, both of them, both fathers.
With Fonny's dad, like that, we can understand that they are hurting for cash to try to support this child.
Yeah,
and it was so sickening to me to find out that, like, oh well, we can try to help prove Fonny's innocence, but it's going to cost a lot of money, and it was just like, what happened to innocent until proven guilty?
Yeah, they had
it was only ever the other way. It was only guilty until proven innocent whenever, a person's color was brought into the issue.
Yeah.
And if it were any other way, it would have been innocent until proven guilty. And I don't know, it was just something that really like started pissing me off when I was hearing that lawyer talk about like, oh, we're going to need more money and all this stuff, and we're going to have to try to find her in Puerto Rico. So that means someone is going to have to buy a plane ticket to Puerto Rico to try to find this woman in the entire country. Like in that entire area of Puerto Rico, they're going to have to find one woman who is claiming that Fonny assaulted her when that isn't the case. Yeah. And they're having to sink all of this money that they don't have to try to prove this man's innocence when it's supposed to be assumed that he is innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
You talk about money, and now it brings me to one of the quotes, actually, that they talk about. It's Joseph and what's Fonny's dad? Frank. He says, why'd you worry about don't worry about money.
I love it.
Right now.
Yeah, like if you didn't worry about it then.
If you didn't worry about then, don't worry about now. That's what's going to tear us apart.
Yeah. So and he even says, like, I got hustles, you got hustles. Like, we got to do what we can for the betterment of our family.
And he even, and again, he even goes to say, like, you raised your kids with this, and you raised your kids with that. Like, we can do it.
Yeah.
So that brought me up to that.
Yeah. One of the bro moments I had was the perfume scene.
Oh, that made me uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable of Tish.
Homie smelling her.
It is ridiculous. He straight up like
for so long.
And how she explains it to where he's like, he brings my flesh up to his and holds it there for what feels like years, and it just seemed so possessive. Oh,
I hated it.
And it wasn't like she was a person. It was like she was
an object.
Yeah, an object that he can control at his will. And I really, it made me be like, bro, the fact that she had to deal with that most likely every day.
Yeah. And
she was doing that just for the money. Also while pregnant too. It just, put it all into perspective there.
Yeah. My next one is when Fonny tells Daniel about why they couldn't rent the place, and Daniel talks about why he was locked up.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole sequence, it is a great sequence from both actors involved. They do amazing with the acting. I believe Fonny's the guy that portrays Fonny, I think it's Stephen James. Is that correct? I believe his name is.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the guy that plays Daniel.
I don't have his name.
His name's Brian Tyree Henry.
Okay.
And I know him because I had gotten introduced to him from that show Atlanta.
Yes.
And then he's also in Joker.
He's also in.
Is he?
Eternals.
Oh, he is.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, but I'd gotten introduced to him from Atlanta, so I knew that he was a good actor just from the show. But man, I really want to see him in more stuff.
Yeah, he's good.
He's great at what he does acting wise, and I would really like to see where he goes from here, and or even from Eternals or anything like that. I mean, pretty good if you are in a Marvel film.
True.
So, but yeah, that entire sequence was a brumming for me, and them just explaining their situations that they get put in just due to the color of their skin.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Another one for me was seeing that the cop who's putting the charges on him was the cop who he had a run-in with him earlier or previous at the shop. We see that after.
So ridiculous.
After we find out it's him, but I was like, wait, that's the same guy that's putting the assault charges on him.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually was like, that has to be the reason why he's putting it on there, because he couldn't take him in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He knew he was in the right, and now
he wanted a reason to
take him in. Exactly. And that was like, bruh, come on, like, that's dirty.
Yeah.
Like, So that was one of my next moments.
Yeah, my last bro moment is when the mom goes to Puerto Rico and meets Veronica. Well, she meets Pedro Pascal first, which was a super interesting choice to have him. I don't remember his name in this, but he meets.
I think it's Pedrito.
Pedrito.
I think so.
It might be. Actually, no. That sounds like the.
That sounded like the bartender.
Yeah,
That was friends with Fonny.
Oh yeah. Also, I liked him a lot. By the way.
Yeah, we did. We talked. He's such a small part, but I liked him.
Yeah.
But yeah, she sits and I don't know why, but she puts on a wig.
Yeah, that part was kind of confusing.
I don't know if she was trying to like disguise herself or anything like that, or maybe she was just trying to get all dolled up. I'm not sure. But she sits down with Pedro Pascal and explains to him like, "Hey, I know, like I'm here because my son or my daughter's husband is wrongly accused, and this is his picture. Like, I didn't come here to cause you, what
any grief or anything.
Yeah, any grief, but I know him, and I know what she went through is true, but I know dang sure that it wasn't him."
Mm-hmm.
And I guess she convinces him to get a meeting with her, and it's the scene where she gets there, and she's explaining. It must be difficult to bring up this trauma for her.
Yeah,
I mean I can imagine.
You're having to relive that whole situation.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah, and it kind of broke my heart because this is like their last lifeline to get him the justice he needs, right? And she's showing him the picture, and she's kind of like, "This isn't him. This isn't like this wasn't him, right?" And she kind of says
it
like,
wasn't.
You weren't there. She doesn't. I don't know. It was a little.
She doesn't confirm or deny.
Yeah, it was a little opaque to me in the truth behind the matter here. Right?
Yeah, she doesn't confirm or deny that it was him, but then she does reveal that whenever she was in the lineup, the cop forced Veronica to say that it was Fonny.
Yeah,
and they did so by picking him specifically and being like it was him, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and they force her to choose.
And it's in this moment you get to see the desperation of the mom, where she's like, she starts to like touch her necklace and like pray or something.
Yeah, because I think she's wearing like a cross.
She's wearing the cross.
Yeah, and she's like, "Come on, if you believe in this, then hear me out," or whatever.
Yeah.
And she starts to.
Veronica starts to break down.
To get back into that place that she was at, right? And it was horrible to see her, screaming, "Get off me!" And then to see the mom see her last lifeline leave her, and kind of accept the fact that her son's not going to get justice.
Yeah.
Sorry to the actor real quick. Her name is Victoria, by the way.
Victoria? It's not Veronica?
It's not Veronica.
Are you serious?
Bro, we've been doing her dirty.
We've been doing her dirty.
I trusted you.
Yeah, I trusted myself, and then I looked at my notes, and it says, and I wrote that was a moment for me because I wrote Victoria going crazy. She's traumatized, so I can only
Is Veronica?
No, it's Victoria.
Okay, Veronica redacted.
But I wrote down Victoria going crazy. She's traumatized, so I can only imagine what she's going through.
Okay.
Also, Pedro Pascal's character was
Pietro.
Pietro.
Oh, you were right.
No, I said Pedrito. I said
You
Pedrito.
said
Okay.
Perito.
Pietro.
Which is still correct. Or no, it's Pedrocito.
Pedrocito is the other guy.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of similar, so you can see why I got confused.
Yeah.
But yeah.
My last bro moment, and I feel like this is might be all of ours, is knowing that Fonny took a plea when he's innocent.
Yeah, that's mine as well.
Because me personally, I would keep on fighting and fighting and fighting. I know that that's just me. Obviously, I've never been in a situation like that. I don't know how it works, but I would want to keep on fighting to prove my innocence, because then that just lets them win.
Yeah.
And lets them be like, oh, he was at fault. It was him, but no.
But listen, at a time where at the time that this took place in the film, and being in a situation where you have no money, no resources
that's
to do
the best
anything,
thing you can do.
Honestly, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
And I can understand Fonny wanting to take the plea deal even for doing something that he didn't do. I mean, he got essentially stuck with the same situation that Daniel did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it was, either take the charge for Grand Theft Auto or take the pot charge. And he thought that, hey, Grand Theft Auto is probably not going to be that bad or as bad as pot. So I'll take that.
Yeah. So I do get it.
Yeah, it's a huge bro moment, man. It sucks. It's something that's I feel is so wrong with our justice system, that in order to try to prove your innocence, you have to like be made of money.
Yeah.
Like you don't even get a fair shot if you don't have cash. And it just allows all of these people who are potentially innocent to like rot in prison when they've done nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they just are, a victim of circumstance, and they don't have the ability or resources to be able to defend themselves, so they just have to take what's given to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
I would say that is my last brown moment.
Yeah.
I'm done too.
Same here. Well, let's get into facts then.
Yeah, and so I want to start with the budget. The budget to make this movie was $12 million, which kind of was surprising.
Yeah, it's relatively small.
No, like surprising. I felt like that was expensive
Oh, okay.
because I feel like there wasn't a lot of like set design. It was filmed in New York,
Well, I mean, if it's set in the 70s, you got to have old cars.
I guess that's
all
true.
that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I was a little thrown off by it. But opening weekend it only made $224,000. Gross it made $14.9 million, so it made its money there in the U.S. and Canada. And gross worldwide, it made $20.5 million. So it made its
Good.
money.
Yeah.
I think it reached the audience it needed to.
Yeah, especially for a smaller release.
Yeah.
I know that this movie wasn't, it's not a blockbuster
No.
of any sorts, right? And I mean, I think this is, I would consider this still like an indie movie. It's somewhat
Almost,
independent.
yeah.
Like, it was put out, I think the production company is like Annapurna or Annapurna.
Oh yeah,
Films.
Annapurna.
And they're a pretty small production company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've done other things too. They sound so familiar.
Yeah, they've done a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to know that Barry Jenkins was able to make that return, so that way he can do more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was surprised that he won a few awards.
Yeah, it's actually an Oscar-winning film.
Yeah,
You have them?
Yeah, Regina King won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress
Wow.
Yeah.
for this film, and then it was also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Score,
Wow.
which I can understand.
The score
I
was.
wonder
Yeah.
who won score for 2018.
I'm not sure.
I'm
It
gonna-
has
I'm
to
gonna
have
look it
been.
up.
It has to. I don't know, because hearing this thing, man, it's beautiful.
It's very, very beautiful.
Beautiful music.
I have a fact while you're looking that up, baby. The first trailer that was released in August 2nd, 2018, would have been the 94th birthday of novelist James Baldwin.
Dang.
He would have been 94 to see that trailer.
Dang,
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy.
Best original score was Black Panther that year.
I could see.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, I think the Black Panther score slapped pretty hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has like Kendrick and all that.
Well, just the score alone, like that's the soundtrack and all that stuff.
Oh, okay. I get
but
what
like
you're
the
saying.
score, I think slapped pretty hard. I know it had like all those like drums and
Mhm.
like percussion instruments and stuff that sounded pretty sick. But
Yeah.
To go back and listen.
yeah, most definitely. I don't really have any more facts
No,
because
I don't either.
I don't know. The trivia was
Skimp.
it was dry
Yeah.
for this movie, man. So it's gonna be a short category unless you
Yeah.
guys got anything else.
No, I do not.
The only thing that I have is a little bit of differences from the movie to the book.
Okay,
And
I'm interested.
And I talked about it a little earlier, but the first one being, I think I haven't read the book. I'm going based off of people's, what people have written online about in articles and stuff like that. But they had said that Fonny's dad eventually commits suicide.
Oh my gosh.
And just overall in general, the atmosphere of the book is a lot more dark and gritty and like sad.
When did the book come out?
74.
Yeah.
I kind of want to read it now.
So there's a lot of people kind of made the criticism of the movie being a little bit too rounded over the rough edges and didn't go as deep as the book did, which I don't have that experience obviously. But there's another thing that I thought was interesting, and I think that the film kind of left a little ambiguous. We get the of Veronica. She says that she was forced to choose, but in the book it explains that the officer, when she was told to choose, he lines up everyone, and there was only one person of color there. So she was literally forced to choose Fonny because he was the only one that fit her description of the person who ran away.
Yeah. I think it says that in the movie, though.
Does it?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and listen.
I don't...
Because I remember saying that Victoria saying he was the only person of color in the lineup.
I had read that, and I thought it was super interesting.
Yeah.
But overall, I've heard the book is actually pretty decent.
I kind of want to read it now.
Yeah. See.
And I'm not a reader, and I hate when I hear the book is better. So now I might have to read it.
All right, that's it for me, though.
All right. Well, if that's it for Facts with the Bros, let's get into what didn't work.
I'll start. And going in this movie, I actually expected it to be about love, or about more. More about love.
Okay.
The trailer shows us that it looks like a love story. It doesn't show anything of him being incarcerated.
Well,
and I wish it was. I wish I got to see more of them in love and more of their relationship. For me, at least, because I chose this movie as a love movie.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to say it's not about love, just because I feel like that's the main core. It's just not a conventional love story.
Yes. I guess
everything is peaches and roses.
Yes.
All that stuff.
I get what you guys are saying on that, but I wish I got to experience more of their love, so to say.
Yeah, I'll say one of the things that didn't work for me, or at least in the context of this film, that I think probably could have benefited, like in what Abe is wanting from the film. I think a linear storyline could have really benefited the film. I think it would have, I don't know, from my perspective, and I'm not a writer, I'm not a director or anything, I'm just a guy that loves movies. For me, if I really want to grow with a character and I want to show the severity and the depth of a person's relationship, I would want to start out at the the catalyst of that relationship, explore that entire thing, and then get to the problem. And then that runs the risk of being cliche, but I don't know. I think this movie really could have benefited from a storyline that is linear rather than non-linear.
Yeah.
And or maybe if they presented the flashbacks in a more linear way rather than cutting around where we see a flashback that has taken place before Fonny was accused, but then the next flashback we see is the night that Fonny is accused, and then the other one that we see is whenever they're going to the loft, and they have not even been, like, that's so far down the line that hasn't even happened yet. Like, I kind of wish that maybe just the flashbacks in general then were more linear and streamlined, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, and I actually agree with you on that, because there was at times where it would go to a flashback and then go to where they are now, and it wouldn't make that much sense. But then I also want to go back to what Nick said earlier, was like maybe it's because it was to convey emotions. So I get what both of you are saying, but I do agree with you more, Isaiah.
Okay.
One of the things that I kind of struggled with was just their overall lack in characterization of Fonny as an individual. Like, we do get some things where he's like an artist and he can speak Spanish, but to me he kind of felt very flat, and he wasn't very present in the movie, obviously, but the times we do get him, I don't know, just to me it didn't seem very substantial, and I had noticed that because I had started looking for what lacked in him in others, and in others that I found way more interesting, like Lonnie's mom and dad. I kind of wanted to spend more time with Lonnie's father, and how the religion aspect and the division of the household affected Lonnie as a person, rather than kind of just seeing it in that small altercation at that family fight scene. I really enjoyed that, and I wanted to see more of that dynamic between the mom and dad. And I don't know, for me it felt a little flat in that area, and I'd wanted to see more depth there. And I don't know, I'm trying to overall explain it, because I did like it. There's just parts of it where it dragged a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused.
I would agree.
Because I don't remember a character being Lonnie.
Fonnie. Excuse me, Alfonso. You got me. Redacted. How many redacted things we're going to have this episode?
Sorry, I just had to throw it. I was like, you kept on saying Lonnie. I said, okay.
Fonnie.
Okay.
Yeah. And honestly,
but I get what you're saying, because I do actually wish I got to see more of Bonnie's parents and how they treated him growing up, to see why he ended up like that.
yeah, another thing, I will say this story is incredibly important, but I also think it was a little simple
Okay.
when it comes to the actual, thematic elements of like racial injustice and all that stuff. It kind of shows it here and there, but we don't really, like, the cop doesn't do all too much, right? Like in the film, he's not that much of an opposing force, like that we actually get to see on camera. He's just like this guy, and we've seen cops be, like racially motivated and other, like all throughout history, right? And it kind of feels like it didn't really do too much to have a new voice on that,
Yeah.
So I kind of just felt just a little like I've seen it,
Yeah, I get you.
and like, not that I've only seen it, but it just didn't hit in the ways that I feel like it should have to have an impact,
Okay.
I don't know. I'm still trying to work my way through that, but I think part of it also is that I really enjoyed the first half of the movie. Like, I think the first half was incredibly gripping when it comes to the introduction of all the characters.
Yeah.
And then, I think it kind of peters off at the second half.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because I had, the only other thing that I'd written down for what didn't work is I feel like this movie gets pretty slow, pretty quick whenever the second half comes around.
Mm-hmm.
I really do enjoy that entire first half of, us getting set up with what exactly the situation is and everything like that. And I think it's about around the time when, like, after we see the two dads decide that they need to start providing for the family and hustling and stuff, that's when it starts to kind of, like, really break down and get slow. And
I was going to say, for me, it got slow when they meet with the lawyer, after they meet with the lawyer.
Oh, okay. Which time?
The first time, actually. Or no, the second time when they say they need money to go to Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay.
For me, that's when it got a little bit slow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think that this movie could have been shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of things I feel like that are drawn out, which are probably done, purposefully.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. For me, I don't think that this movie necessarily needed to be 2 hours long. I think it could have been a lot shorter. There are a lot of sequences that I think didn't necessarily need to be as long, especially their whole, like, Fonnie and Tish's intimacy scene. I don't understand why it was as long as it was. I think we could have left their situation as implied, or like, with the implication that they were intimate with one another, they slept with one another, and it'd be just as effective rather than have this whole drawn out thing. I don't know.
I agree.
No, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you 100%.
But yeah, that's about it for what didn't work for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. What did work for you guys?
Immediately, I want to talk about the soundtrack. I know we've already kind of hit on it, but I feel like that is what holds any of my emotional interest, is that soundtrack. Honestly,
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. There's no other way to put it, because it's so. I hate to say it like. I don't hate to say it like this. To me, it's like almost angelic. Like I just want to go. Oh, like when I hear Agape. No, really though, when I hear Agape, I'm like, I always turn it up when I'm listening to my car. Or like if I push shuffle and it comes up, I will always never skip it. This is a non-skip song for me, and I will turn it up and I'm just like, this is beautiful. I'm gonna listen to it. Like, I feel like I can fly with this. So yeah, I agree
You're that
with you.
meme of the guy floating on the house. He's all. One of the things that really did work for me, this movie is beautiful to look at.
Absolutely
is.
beautiful.
Cinematography in this is great. And I believe the guy that did the cinematography for this also did the one for Moonlight.
Yeah.
Which and you can kind of tell
You could definitely tell.
there's definitely stylistic choices like like the soul shots of just the characters. Like I'm thinking of there's a specific shot of the cop like against this brick wall,
Mm-hmm.
and it reminded me of a shot in Moonlight, or like the whole fading out aspect and
Mhm.
stuff like that with Fonny. I could think of some shots like that in Moonlight. But I think the cinematography and the camera movement and all of that stuff really does lend itself to what I think is really good storytelling as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie is greatly written,
Yeah.
and I just kind of wish that the writing maybe stuck to the book a little bit more, and I
Mhm.
think it would have hit a lot more emotionally if that
Mhm.
were the case. And then also I gotta say, really great acting here as well.
Yeah.
Especially from people that I haven't seen before on screen, like Fonny, played by Stephen James, and even Tish, played by is it Kiki. What was her last name?
Kiki Lane.
Kiki Lane. Yeah, and I gotta say, after watching this, I'd definitely on the lookout for what they're gonna do next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I actually, speaking on the writing, I really enjoyed Tish's narration over some of the flashback scenes and some of the, the history of them too.
yeah,
It really highlighted just how effective the writing was, and
yeah.
it got me to feel emotion.
Yeah, I'll highlight that too as well, in the fact that there are certain instances where like on-screen narration can be corny,
Yeah.
or like as seen as like a cop out,
Mm-hmm.
but the writing in those in that narration is so visual
Mhm.
and visceral, like the whole department store scene when she's getting smelt. Like when she says, like, I would stand there like cheesing until the back of my teeth
And
hurt.
it zoomed in on her teeth.
And like describing things, like the only comparison that I can think of would be like that scene in Dead Poet Society when Robin Williams is saying use descriptive words.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he says
yeah.
like sweaty tooth madman.
Yeah.
Like there are words and depictions used sort of like that throughout this entire film, especially in the narration,
Mhm.
that paints such a visual and vivid picture that I think it executes it really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of, like, how whenever you see a book adapted to the screen and you're always like, well, the book is better because you can hear the inner monologues that they have with themselves, and you get to know them more as a character. And I feel like, in a way, hearing the narration is hearing her thought process on what's going on and how she's dealing with the situation that she's in. And I thought it was really effective at getting me to care a lot more about her.
Yeah.
So there you go.
All right.
I think we hit them all.
All right.
We,
Yeah, I don't have anything else for what did work as well.
No.
So, what are some? Well, before
Who
we get
wins
into
it?
the themes, who wins the movie?
Kiki Lane, Tish for me.
Yeah, Kiki Lane, I think, really kills it. She's on screen most of the time as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah, she kills it in this movie for me as well.
Yeah.
So, I'm picking Kiki Lane for the winner.
Okay.
100% agree.
All right. What are some themes for this movie?
One that I wrote down is sometimes you got to trust love all the way.
All right.
And it's going to take you far. And it may hurt sometimes, but it's going to take you far.
Yeah.
I like that. I'd written down love and support are beautiful things.
That's a good one. You topped mine.
I put perseverance is the key to love.
All right.
Why are you laughing at me?
I felt like mine was kind of simple.
No, it
I
was
like
good.
yours. Yours is good.
Yeah.
Oh,
We all hit it pretty good.
okay. All right. Well, if that's it for the themes, then what are we rating this?
I'm gonna give this one a 7.
Okay.
I think it definitely is it's a really good movie, and
Mhm.
it has a lot to say. I just think that there are some things that kind of hold it back for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to have to echo him and give him a 7 as well.
I'm gonna piggyback off both of you guys then.
Man,
7?
Don't
Yeah.
even say that because
Yeah.
that's Silk Sonic going 7, 7, 7.
Let's
Let's go.
All the confetti comes
Yeah.
down. And we're just,
Where's the button?
that would be
But all right,
Yeah.
it's a 7 all around.
Yeah.
okay.
So
Not bad by any means. So.
No,
yeah,
no.
most definitely.
I think this movie. I think certain people would love this movie, and then certain people would be like, oh, it's an okay movie. So I think it definitely has its type of audience.
Yeah, I would say, if anything, if this is a movie that you think will pique your interest, or if you watch the trailer and are interested by it, by all means check it out.
Check it out.
Sure.
Check it out for yourself. And
On
you know,
Hulu.
It's on Hulu.
So-
I'm sorry.
If you missed out, go back and watch that. Or
Yeah.
if you spent money,
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
sorry about
I
it.
will Venmo you a penny.
Hey, we'll hold you up to
I was
that.
about to
bro.
say.
It's a penny.
No, I'm just kidding.
True.
All right. But yeah, that's the end of the episode, y'all. So if you stayed around to the end, we appreciate you. And if you would be so kind as to like and subscribe and turn on that bell notification, so that way you are notified whenever we do upload. We try to upload our videos on YouTube every Wednesday along with the podcasts. The podcasts all go up on Wednesday. So we try to make sure that those are synchronized. So if there's any ever technical difficulties or anything like that, if you had that bell, you would know and get notified whenever that video podcast does come out. So again, we want to thank you guys for listening to our stuff. If you want to get in contact with any of us or make any suggestions or anything like that, you can always rate and review the show, or get in contact with us and with our methods of contact. We have an Instagram, we have our email, and you can use those as outlets for comments, criticisms, anything that you think would be of any sort of value or anything like that, or if you just want to be heard, use those outlets so that way we can hear you. But I believe that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got for us? What's next week?
Your pick.
Isaiah, what do you got?
So we're going to be doing Judas and the Black Messiah. This is a movie that I had just had it pulled up. It came out, I believe, in 2021.
I think so.
Last
I think
year.
so.
And it's streaming right now on HBO Max. And
Of course.
it has got my boys Daniel Kaluuya
Yep.
and Lakeith Stanfield in it. And as far as I know, I believe it's about the Black Panther movement in
Yeah, it says
the
it's a
60s.
biography.
Yeah, and I believe it's about Fred Hampton, and it's more specifically the Black Panther movement. And it got a lot of buzz around the time, especially Oscar-wise. I think Daniel Kaluuya won Best Actor, I think.
Holy cow.
I remember him accepting some award around last year. But it's something that I've really been wanting to check out, and it's been on HBO Max for a minute, and it's just been sitting in my list, and I just have never gotten around to watching it. So this, I feel like, is the perfect excuse to watch it. I have never seen it. I don't know if you guys have.
No.
No.
Is this another one we've all not seen?
It's.
All right.
I'm looking at the runtime, dude. Crazy.
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 6 minutes.
No, it's 3 hours and 46 minutes.
3 hours? No
I'm
way.
looking at 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Mine says 3 hours and 46.
What are you on?
Am I seeing that wrong?
Runtime 3 hours and 46 minutes.
I'm looking at 2 hours.
It cannot be as long as.
Am I wrong?
It cannot be as long as.
Endgame?
Endgame as.
An Infinity War?
Yeah, no way.
Am I
Well,
wrong?
yours says 3:46. Mine says 2:06.
Zoom in on that.
Yeah. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but all right. Well,
Whatever it is, I'm ready for it.
we'll
I
find
am
out.
ready for it. I'm ready. Actually, I know pretty much nothing about that movement. So
Yeah, I think it's. I don't either, and I would love to be educated on it.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
find out more about the Black Panther movement and exactly what they stood for and their vision and all that stuff. And I've heard. I'm probably gonna sound so corny right now, but I've heard Fred Hampton's name thrown around in like music, specifically with bands by Rage Against the Machine and stuff like that. And I've done a little research on Fred Hampton because of his name being mentioned in songs by Rage Against the Machine and stuff. But I think it will be really interesting to watch this and see what the movie has to portray about him.
I don't think I know anything about this, so I'm excited actually.
all right.
Well, it's going to be a moment of education and I guess a
Entertainment as
moment
well.
of entertainment, right? Because we've
Yeah.
never seen it. So
If it's 3.5 hours.
No,
we'll
I
see.
just went on HBO Max and it's 206.
Okay, 206. Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
all right. Well, check Judas and the Black Messiah out. next week and come back with us and hear our thoughts on what we have to say about that. So, as always, this has been the Film Bros Podcast. Thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.